So the winning poll for this week was which states will I prefer, or which states will perform best over the next 3 years. There's a lot of different locations all over Australia. Doesn't matter what states, doesn't matter what territory. There's going to be some great places in Victoria that are going to perform for the next 3 years. Same goes for South Australia. Same goes for Queensland or Tassie. And it's just picking those markets, those 2% of, 2% of the top locations in Australia that are going to perform for the next 3 to 5 years. And for me, I can't put my hand on my heart and say there's going to be one state that's going to outdo another state, because there's markets in markets. And every state and territory has, different LGAs, which is your council areas, your local council areas, and they've got suburbs. So you might be living in your local area, there's a council, and in that council, there's multiple suburbs. And that's how we do our research. We go off LGA, so off those council areas. And so there's multiple all over Australia that are going to perform in the next 3 years. And we look at it, and there's only going to be 2% of those locations in Australia that are going to perform. And it all comes down to your personal situation, depending on your portfolio. If you're someone that's got a few properties in Queensland, I would move out of Queensland and start going into different states and territories, because you don't want to have all your properties all your eggs in one basket. And what I mean by that is because of land tax. Because of land tax, you have all your properties in one state, you're going to get smashed with land tax. And while we diversify as well, we diversify in different regions. Doesn't matter if it's in the same states or territories, but we diversify in different regions and territories because economic drivers. What economic drivers are driving that region? So we diversify for that reason, because we don't want to just be investing in a region where it's just reluctant on one thing, like mining towns. We look for 5 economic drivers or more that are driving that economy. But when we invest in different states and territories, they have different economic drivers. And so that minimizes risk to your portfolio. It's very important. This is something that people leave out. So we look at things like that. We look at your portfolio, what you've currently got. We look at how many properties you've got in a certain state and region, how to minimize your land tax, and of course, how to diversify the portfolio. And not just that, another thing, why we change and chop of different states and territories, market cycle. Where is your property in its market cycle? Very important. Has it just started its cycle? Is it in the middle of its cycle? Is it peaking? Is it trending down from its cycle? These are things to take in consideration. So we don't want to be investing in a location where it's starting to peak or it's in the middle of its cycle, because we want to get to the beginning and then we're just going to set and forget, let it do its thing. And so we'll go into different states and territories or different regions all over Australia that are just starting their cycle, because we want to ride that wave of capital growth as well. So it's a great question. I can't put my hand on my heart. If we want to talk about cities, capital cities, what capital city is going to be the outperforming city in the next 3 years, I could say Brisbane is up there, and I could say as well South Australia is up there as well, which is performing very well. And then of course you got your Hobart is still doing its thing. Hobart's probably the number 1 capital city that has been performing the last 10 years, and we'll see what happens with the big 2 tyrant locations of Sydney and Melbourne and what they're going to do. But if we're looking at from not just taking into consideration the capital cities, but the all the different locations in Australia, because there's over 15,000 suburbs in Australia, there's going to be other places that are going to outperform those capital cities as well. So, like I said, it all comes down to your personal situation, but hopefully this gave you a lot of clarity, and you probably learned a lot from this, what I just spoke about, things that people don't take in consideration. Like I said, I've probably talked about this before, 99.6% of Australian investors don't understand what I've just spoken about minimizing land tax, diversifying the portfolio because of economic drivers, and talking about market cycles, making sure we're seeing our properties are in different market cycles as well. So take that in consideration as well, and it all comes down to your personal situation as well. So yeah, hopefully you got something from that. There's a lot to unpack there. Watch this video again. If you know someone that's wanting to learn more about things like this is something that's really important, doesn't get spoken about often. So thank you for watching this. Have a good weekend or long weekend. Enjoy. If you've got any questions, just reach out to myself or anyone from the team at Fresh Start.